welcome back again to another edition of WBA's Quarterly Advocacy Update. My name is Rose Oswald Poels, and joining me today are Lorenzo Cruz and John Cronin from our WBA Government Relations team. We're looking forward to providing you with some insight today on what's all transpired in this last quarter, and really encourage you to share this video with your staff at a meeting or your board of directors so they're informed as well. So let's get started. Lorenzo and John, what is the latest from the Capitol?
Thanks, Rose. The 21-22 legislative session has drawn to a close. The Assembly wrapped up at the end of February, and the Senate adjourned in early March. There's always a flurry of activity at the end of each session, and this was no exception.
Right.
Thankfully, we hit off any session surprises. John, can you give us a quick recap?
Sure, thanks Lorenzo. We saw several threats to the banking industry this session, and we really had to dig in with kind of a defensive posture, but happy to report that we succeeded in playing spoiler to all of those threats that we faced this year. So first and foremost, we spent quite a bit of time quashing a credit union powers expansion bill and prevented that bill from getting to either the floor of the Assembly or the Senate. We certainly did quite a bit of work as the GR team, but we're also very thankful to all of the grassroots support that we received from our member bankers in support of those efforts.
Yeah, we really had to call out bankers quite a few times this year.
Yes,
right?
indeed, yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Towards the end of session, we also headed off a fair or forced access type piece of legislation. These proposals are billed as anti-banking discrimination, but what they effectively do is force banks to do business with anyone regardless of the risks that a business or a customer may pose. We've seen a lot of these bills in other states across the country, and thankfully we were able to prevent such a bill from even being introduced here at the state level.
Right.
And lastly, credit card fees. So this was a proposal that has been come up in many other states across the country. We got the most recent iteration of that here over the course of this legislative session, and happy to report that we prevented that bill from getting any traction or any action in either house this year. We were able to defeat what is really a high priority for Quick Trip and the Grocers Association, some other trade groups that are looking to reduce the cost that credit card fees pose for their businesses.
Yeah, this really was a lot of defense, especially in the last few months of session. So great job to the team, and something to really keep in mind. A lot of these bills were ones that frankly can affect the bottom line of a bank's income statement and the franchise value of a bank. So really important. So unfortunately, with the end of session also meant that some of our items ended up on the cutting floor as well. Isn't that right, Lorenzo? Tell us what we didn't get through for our banking members, and what we're going to certainly focus on next session.
Well, while we made significant progress on elder fraud abuse as well as our banking modernization bill, we fell short of our objectives of enacting them into laws. The elder fraud bill passed in the Assembly by an overwhelming margin, but failed to get taken up in the Senate. The reverse was true on the banking modernization bill. We passed it on a voice vote in the Senate, but it failed to get enacted in the Assembly. We've also been active and engaged on other issues like unclaimed property, privacy, corporation changes, and PACE, to name a few. We'll continue to work on those issues as well. We actually positively influence those pieces of legislation.
Yep. And we'll definitely work hard again next session for the members on all of that. So switching to politics a little bit, 2022 is of course an election year, which we all know and are getting ready to turn off the TVs at some point later on this year when the ads become prevalent. But obviously the first piece of this heading into this year was redistricting, redrawing maps in Wisconsin and frankly around the country. We've had quite a bit of interesting times and a lot of changes with regard to Wisconsin's own maps. John, why don't you give us the latest?
Sure. So in response to the census that takes place every 10 years, the legislative and congressional boundaries need to be redrawn to accomplish and accommodate some of those population changes. So a couple weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, the Wisconsin Supreme Court delivered what was really a significant victory for Democrats by adopting legislative and congressional maps that Governor Evers submitted to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. and when you look at kind of the partisan composition of those district boundaries, that added up to some advantages for Democrats, both in the Assembly and the Senate at the state level. But as you know, things in Wisconsin are always ever-changing.
Yeah.
And yesterday, March 23rd, the U.S. Supreme Court intervened and threw kind of a giant curveball by saying that the Wisconsin Supreme Court erred in the decision that they had made on the governor's maps, and they have remanded the redistricting case back to the Wisconsin Supreme Court to, I guess, some further consideration. So we still don't have maps, and we've got the first day of circulation of nomination papers for state level offices that need to begin on April 15th, so the time frame's getting pretty tight here.
Very short, yeah. So the Supreme Court will have to act pretty quickly here, and stay tuned to see what the outcome of that is. WBA will certainly report on that in our publications. So John, why don't you walk us through the ballot a little bit this fall on what people can expect to see. And Lorenzo, let us know how bankers can get involved to make sure we actually elect pro-banking candidates.
Sure. So absent a presidential election at the top of the ticket, this is about as high stakes as it can possibly get. So at the top of the ticket, we've got a U.S. Senate race. We've got all 8 members of the U.S. House of Representatives that represent areas of Wisconsin up for election or re-election this year. And then at the state level, all 99 seats in the Assembly are up, half of the state Senate is up, and all 5 constitutional officers here in Wisconsin are up. So that's governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, treasurer, and secretary of state. So
it's a big year.
A big year. There's no doubt about it.
Yep. Lorenzo, how can bankers contribute?
Well, political fundraising is absolutely critical for us to elect pro-banking and pro-business candidates. WBA isn't an R or a D or a B for banker. With so many high-profile competitive races, our political funds are essential to electing those types of candidates. We need everyone's help. Big or small contributions, we'll take whatever. The money goes towards our ABW conduit, our PAC, and our issue advocacy fund. The key is participation, and shortly you'll be receiving the 2022 Advocacy Toolkit, which will be going out to all our members here in April.
Yep, Lorenzo is right. There's 3 choices you have on ways to contribute, and political giving is really critically important. And please know that we at the staff level would not ask you to do something we don't already do. We have our annual fundraiser ourselves here, and an overwhelming majority of the staff contribute anywhere from literally $5 up to $4,000. So please do consider giving. It is a very important year. And, unfortunately, the reality is with elections and ensuring that our candidates are in office to vote the way we want and to help advance legislation that we want, need to make sure we've got people that understand the banking industry in office. So please do watch for our advocacy toolkit coming in the mail here soon. And if you have any questions at any time about politics or policy, please don't hesitate to contact any one of our government relations team members. Thank you very much for tuning in today.